"Jamil," she began cautiously, "now that we have a bit more money, maybe I can donate my old clothes to starving people and buy some new ones for me." Jamil didn't even look up from his plate as he replied, "Oh, honey, anyone who can fit into your clothes is not starving." Nala was a bright young woman with big dreams of attending cooking school after high school and opening her own restaurant. Life hadn't been easy for her. She lost her father when she was a child, and her mother raised her alone, working hard to give Nala the best education she could, despite their financial struggles. Nala's dream was to become financially independent so she could give her mother the life she deserved. But everything changed when Nala met Jamil at just 18 years old. He was charming, handsome, and 5 years older than her. Jamil was not from her city. He had been sent there for a few months as a mechanical technician. He had a good job, and Nala admired his confidence and maturity. Jamil, in turn, was drawn to Nala's big heart, intelligence, and ambition. Before his time in the city was up, and after only a few months together, he proposed to her. Nala's mother wasn't thrilled. She wanted her daughter to follow her dreams before getting married. She was also worried because Jamil was working in the capital city, far across the country, and she didn't want her only daughter to move so far away. But Nala reassured her. "Mum, I'll visit you every month. And don't worry, I won't give up on my dreams. Jamil is hardworking, and he'll push me to do even better every day." Her mother, though heartbroken, finally agreed. Jamil seemed like a well-educated and respectful man, so she trusted Nala's decision. They got married in a simple ceremony, and Nala moved away to start her new life. At first, Nala was happy. She was excited about the future, still thinking about going to cooking school. But life had other plans for her. Not long after they were married, Nala found out she was pregnant. She had been planning to start her classes, but with the baby on the way, she had to put everything on hold. Jamil was supportive at first. He told her not to worry, that she could go back to school later. Nala believed him and thought everything would work out eventually. But time passed, and soon their first son, Bakari, was born. Nala loved being a mother, but she also missed her dreams of cooking school. Just when she thought she might be able to get back to her plans, Nala found out she was pregnant again, this time with twins. Life was moving fast, and before she knew it, she was a mother of 3 children. Meanwhile, Nala's best friend Zuri had gone off to university. Zuri was always ambitious, and she had big plans for her career. While Nala was raising her children, Zuri was studying hard. After finishing university, Zuri started her own business, and it became successful. Nala was happy for her best friend, but sometimes she felt a little left behind. She wanted to do something for herself too, but with 3 kids, it was hard to focus on anything other than being a mother and wife. To make things harder, Jamil wasn't really helping her either. Then, disaster struck. Jamil had an accident at work and severely injured his back, leaving him barely able to move. The doctors said he would need surgery to recover, but it would be a long and expensive process. To make things worse, the insurance refused to cover the costs because the accident was his fault. He hadn't followed the safety rules. Jamil could no longer work, and since the family depended on his income, the responsibility of providing for the family and paying for his surgery suddenly fell on Nala's shoulders. Her life became a constant cycle of exhaustion. With no formal qualifications, she had to take whatever work she could find. During the day, she worked as a maid, cleaning houses for families who didn't even know her name. At night, after finishing her maid duties, Nala worked at a factory. The work was tough. She stood on her feet for hours, packing boxes and loading items until late at night. When she got home, she couldn't rest. Jamil couldn't do much because of his injury, so Nala had to take care of the house too. She cooked, cleaned, and looked after the children. She didn't have time for herself and was sleeping less than 5 hours per day. Money was tight, so Nala had to be careful with every cent. With so much pressure and not enough time to cook healthy meals, Nala started eating junk food regularly. It was cheap and quick, and she didn't have the energy to think about anything else. Over time, she began to gain weight. She barely noticed at first because she was always so busy. But the stress, the junk food, and the lack of sleep started taking a toll on her body. To make things worse, Nala's mum fell ill and needed help, but Nala couldn't visit her as often as she needed. The cost of transportation was too high, and Nala simply couldn't afford it. This weighed heavily on her mood. Her mum had always been the one person Nala could rely on for emotional support. Now, she had to work twice as hard to pay for her mum's home care without being able to be there in person to comfort her. They could only talk over the phone, and it left Nala feeling even more alone. She had no breaks, no relief, and no one to turn to for help. Her best friend, Zuri, was busy with her own successful business, and Nala didn't want to burden her with her problems. Jamil, on the other hand, was becoming more difficult. He was frustrated with his condition, and his mood changed constantly. Some days he was kind and grateful for Nala's hard work, but other days he would lash out, complaining about everything. About the house not being clean enough, about the food not tasting good, about the children being too loud. Nala understood that his injury was hard on him, but it didn't make it any easier to deal with his mood swings. One day, after a particularly bad argument, Nala had an idea. She suggested that Jamil could take online classes. Even though he couldn't move much, he was still smart and capable. She thought it might give him something to focus on and help him feel better. Jamil agreed, and with Nala's encouragement, he started studying computer programming and business management from home. Jamil was quick to pick up new skills. He worked hard, and in a short time, he earned several certifications. Nala was proud of him. She kept pushing herself, working harder each day, not only to save enough money for Jamil's surgery, but also to pay for his online classes and her mum's care. Despite the overwhelming pressure, she carried on, determined to support her family in every way she could. Her own health was declining. She was heavier than she had ever been, and her clothes didn't fit the same way they used to. She felt tired all the time, and even walking up the stairs at home made her legs ache. Despite everything, Nala stayed strong and didn't give up on Jamil. Then, after a few years of saving and sacrificing, Nala finally had enough money for Jamil's surgery. It felt like a miracle. The day of the surgery was filled with hope. Nala sat in the hospital waiting room, praying that everything would go well. After hours of waiting, the doctor came out with good news. The surgery had been successful. Jamil's back had been repaired, and with time, he would be able to walk and move normally again. For the first time in a long while, Nala allowed herself to believe that things might get better. Jamil was recovering, and their future seemed brighter. But little did she know, the hardest days were still ahead. For a while, things felt lighter at home. Jamil was getting better, and with the certifications he had earned during his time in bed, he was now able to look for work. Nala reached out to her best friend Zuri for help. Zuri's business was thriving. Nala was hesitant at first, but she swallowed her pride and asked Zuri if she knew of any job opportunities for Jamil. Zuri, always a supportive friend, agreed to hire Jamil in her company. She said they needed someone smart and hardworking, and Jamil fit the description. Jamil started working again, and he was excited to have a job. Nala was happy to see him contributing to the household once more. However, she couldn't stop working completely. She continued her day job as a maid to pay for her mum's care. Jamil was still in his probationary period, and even though his salary was decent, it wasn't enough to cover all their expenses. So Nala had to keep pushing herself to make ends meet. After Jamil settled into his new job, Nala started noticing small changes in his behavior. He was spending more and more time on his phone, often staying up late at night to scroll through it. When she asked him about it, he would shrug it off, saying he was just catching up on work or talking to friends. He also started coming home late, explaining that his new job required longer hours. Nala didn't question him at first. She trusted him. She believed that he was working hard to help support their family. But slowly, Jamil's attitude towards Nala began to shift. He became distant, and his once kind words were replaced with criticism. He started making comments about her weight. At first it was subtle, a joke here, a remark there. But over time his comments became sharper, more hurtful. One evening, as they sat down for dinner, Nala nervously brought up something she had been thinking about for a while. They had a bit more money now that Jamil was working, and she thought it might be time to do something for herself. "Jamil," she began cautiously, "now that we have a bit more money, maybe I can donate my old clothes to starving people and buy some new ones for me." Jamil didn't even look up from his plate as he replied, "Oh, honey, anyone who can fit into your clothes is not starving." Nala froze. The words hit her like a slap in the face. She had always known she had gained weight, but hearing Jamil say something so cruel broke her heart. She tried to brush it off, forcing a smile, but inside she felt the pain of his words deeply. She had sacrificed so much for him, for their family, and this was how he saw her now. Sadly, Nala got the phone call one evening, telling her that her mum had passed away. She was heartbroken and felt devastated. She asked Jamil to come with her to the funeral, but he said he couldn't because of work. Instead, he quickly bought bus tickets for her and the kids, leaving them to travel that far away, alone. When she told Zuri about her mum, Zuri also said she couldn't come. Nala had to go alone, but her kids were with her. The funeral was hard, and Nala felt terrible for not being able to fulfill her wish of giving her mum an amazing life. But her children stayed close, giving her the support she needed to get through it. When Nala came back home, things only got worse. Jamil offered her little support during such a difficult time. His late nights became more frequent, and he was constantly glued to his phone. When Nala asked him about it, he snapped at her, accusing her of being paranoid. He insisted that he was working hard to make money for the family and told her she should be grateful. Nala wanted to believe him, but something didn't feel right. She confided in Zuri, telling her best friend about Jamil's strange behavior and the hurtful things he had been saying to her. Zuri tried to reassure her, explaining that Jamil was just stressed from his new job. He had been there for almost 2 years and had far more responsibilities than before, earning significantly more money. Still, Nala couldn't shake the feeling that something more was going on. At the same time, Nala's oldest son Bakari had gotten a new phone from his dad as a gift. Nala noticed that Bakari was spending a lot of time on it, constantly watching videos and laughing to himself. One day, curious, Nala asked him what he was doing. "You're always on your phone, Bakari," she said, her voice light but curious. "What are you watching?" Bakari grinned and showed her the screen. "It's TikTok, Mum. Everyone's on it. It's fun." Nala didn't know much about social media, but seeing how happy it made Bakari, she became interested. She had been so consumed by work and her responsibilities that she never took time for herself. So after some thought, Nala decided to buy herself a smartphone. It wasn't expensive, just something simple, but it allowed her to explore the world of TikTok during her rare moments of free time. She watched funny videos, cooking tips, and motivational clips. It was a small escape from the exhaustion and stress of her daily life. But even as she found some solace in TikTok, Nala couldn't ignore the growing tension at home. Jamil's behavior was becoming more and more suspicious. He barely spoke to her, and when he did, it was only to criticize or belittle her. One day Jamil left for work like usual. Nala was cleaning the house when she noticed something unusual. Jamil had forgotten his phone at home. Normally he was glued to it, so seeing it left behind was strange. A wave of suspicion hit Nala, but she hesitated at first. She didn't want to be the kind of wife who snooped through her husband's phone. But after all the late nights, the cold remarks, and the distance between them, she couldn't hold back anymore. With shaking hands, she picked up the phone and unlocked it. She knew Jamil's password. He had shared it with her long ago, back when they trusted each other completely. What Nala found made her heart drop. There, in his messages, was a conversation with Zuri, her best friend. At first, Nala thought maybe it was work-related since Jamil worked for Zuri's company. But as she scrolled through the messages, her worst fears were confirmed. Jamil and Zuri had been talking about her, mocking her, calling her fat and unattractive. Nelly's hands trembled as she read the cruel words. Jamil had been telling Zuri that Nala had let herself go, that she wasn't the woman he had married. But it didn't stop there. The messages also made it clear that Jamil was cheating on Nala with Zuri. They had been meeting behind her back, laughing at her, making fun of her weight. Nala's heart raced with anger and betrayal. She couldn't believe it. Her husband and her best friend, two people she had trusted more than anyone, had betrayed her in the worst way possible. If you're enjoying this story, please like, subscribe, and stay seated because what's coming next will make your jaw drop. The worst, yes, the worst, was that while Nala was at her mum's funeral, Jamil spent those weeks with Zuri at her house. That's why neither of them even tried to come with her. It was beyond disgusting. She discovered all that while reading the texts. Without thinking, Nala stormed out of the house. She didn't care about being calm or rational. She went straight to Zuri's office, where both Zuri and Jamil worked. When she arrived, she marched inside without hesitation. The office was busy, filled with people working, but Nala didn't care who saw her. She found Jamil and Zuri standing together, talking like everything was normal. The sight of them made her blood boil. Without thinking, she started yelling at them, accusing them of betrayal right in front of all their co-workers. People stopped what they were doing to watch the scene unfold. Jamil, caught off guard, didn't know how to react at first. But then, instead of apologizing or showing any remorse, he did something that shocked Nala even more. He humiliated her in front of everyone. He looked her up and down, and with a cold, cruel smirk, he said, "I'm in love with Zuri. She's beautiful, successful, and ambitious. Everything you're not. Maybe if you didn't look like this, I wouldn't have to look elsewhere." His words felt like a knife to her heart. Nala was so hurt and embarrassed that she didn't know what to say. She just stood there, frozen in disbelief, as Zuri tried to act like she hadn't done anything wrong. The betrayal was too much to handle, and with her heart broken into 1,000 pieces, Nala turned and left the office, tears streaming down her face. After 10 years with Jamil, enduring so much pain for him, he repaid her by cheating with her best friend. When she got home, she felt completely lost. She didn't know what to do or where to turn, so she did something she never thought she'd do. She opened TikTok and started recording herself. With her phone in front of her, she let the tears fall freely. She explained everything: the betrayal, the hurt, the humiliation. She poured out her heart, not caring who would see it. She just needed to get it out. But Nala didn't expect what happened next. At first, the video got only a few views, but soon, people started commenting, and it wasn't what she hoped for. The first comments were harsh and mean. Strangers online mocked her, calling her overweight and saying that Jamil had every right to cheat on her because of how bad she looked. "Of course he cheated on you," one comment read. "Look at you. Who wouldn't?" Nala's heart broke all over again. She couldn't believe that even strangers were siding with Jamil and tearing her down. They didn't know anything about her struggles or the sacrifices she had made when Jamil was sick, which had led her to becoming overweight. Later that night, Jamil came home, but he didn't even try to apologize. Instead, he packed his things and told her he was leaving. He was moving in with Zuri. There was no explanation, no remorse, just cold indifference. He walked out of the house without looking back, leaving Nala and their children behind. Nala felt completely shattered. Her whole world had fallen apart in just one day. She turned off her phone and cried herself to sleep again, feeling like there was nothing left for her. But the next morning, something unexpected happened. Nala's oldest son, Bakari, burst into her room with excitement. "Mum, you have to see this, you're famous on TikTok," he shouted. Nala, confused and still feeling broken, picked up her phone. When she turned it on, she was shocked to see that her video had gone viral. Not only had millions of people seen it, but the comments had changed. A famous TikToker had come across her video and saw the horrible comments she was getting. This TikToker, with a huge following, asked her community to flood Nala's video with love and support. And they did. Overnight, Nala's TikTok had exploded with positivity. People from all over the world were sending her kind messages, telling her she was strong, beautiful, and that she deserved so much better. Others were sharing their own stories of betrayal, offering words of encouragement. The outpouring of love overwhelmed Nala in the best way. For the first time in a long time, she felt seen and supported. She scrolled through the endless messages of kindness for hours, smiling like she had never done before. Bakari, her oldest son, saw how happy she was becoming and encouraged her to keep making videos. He was smart with technology and knew how social media worked. So he helped her set up a proper TikTok account and even suggested that she start a YouTube channel. "Mum, people want to know more about you," Bakari said. "Why don't you start sharing your story? You could even give advice on how to save money, raise kids, or just share your life." At first, Nala was unsure. She wasn't used to being in front of the camera. She had always been focused on working and taking care of her family. But Bakari's enthusiasm was contagious. He believed in her. And after everything she'd been through, Nala realized she needed to believe in herself too. So, she took the leap. Nala started sharing more about her life on TikTok. She talked about being a single mother, how she was raising her children, and how she managed to save money on a tight budget. People loved her down-to-earth personality and her honesty. She wasn't trying to be anything she wasn't. She was just Nala, a woman who had been through a lot but was still standing. As her TikTok following grew, someone suggested that she start a weight loss journey. Bakari was all in on the idea. He set up a YouTube channel for her and helped her film her first few videos. The videos were simple. Nala doing exercises at home, sharing tips on how to eat healthy on a budget, and talking about her progress. Bakari would help edit the videos, making sure they looked good before they went live. Even though Nala didn't have fancy equipment or a professional setup, people loved her authenticity, and her followers grew super quick. Her children were her biggest supporters. Bakari took on more responsibilities around the house, helping take care of his younger siblings so Nala could focus on her content and her health. He was mature beyond his years, and Nala couldn't have been prouder of him. Nala also began to see TikTok and YouTube as more than just a hobby. She realized that she could monetize her content and start earning money from it. It wasn't a huge amount at first, but it was something. In just 2 years, Nala had lost a significant amount of weight. Her success on TikTok and YouTube allowed her to make real money. She was careful with it, always thinking about her children's future. She bought a house and put it in her children's names, making sure that they would always have a home. It wasn't a huge, fancy house, but it was theirs, and it felt like a fresh start. Nala's journey had already changed her life in ways she couldn't have imagined, but things were about to get even bigger. One day, she received an invitation to appear on a popular TV talk show. The show wanted to feature her story. When the day of the interview arrived, she dressed in her best outfit and went on live TV. She shared everything: how she had struggled when her husband was sick, how her life had fallen apart after discovering his affair with her friend, how she had been bullied for her weight, and how she had rebuilt her life through TikTok and YouTube. She spoke from the heart, and the audience loved her honesty and strength. However, at no point did she mention Jamil's or Zuri's names. She kept their anonymity. The episode went viral. Within just a few days, Nala's social media accounts exploded. People were inspired by her resilience and her message of self-love and perseverance. But with all the attention, people also started digging into Nala's past. Specifically, they started looking into Jamil and Zuri. It didn't take long for the internet to figure out who they were. Soon Zuri and Jamil's names were all over social media, and the backlash was swift. Zuri's business, which had once been so successful, began to crumble. Customers stopped coming, and she lost clients. People were boycotting her, leaving negative reviews online, and publicly calling her out for betraying Nala. The internet turned on her, and within weeks, Zuri's business was facing bankruptcy. As for Jamil, his life also began to fall apart. He was receiving a lot of negative messages online. The affair had damaged his reputation, and after leaving Nala, he and Zuri's relationship didn't last long. The stress from the public backlash was too much for them to handle, and they eventually broke up. Jamil lost everything: his job, his reputation, and his relationship with Zuri. The two of them were left with nothing. Nala heard about what was happening to Zuri and Jamil through social media. People were celebrating their downfall, calling it karma for what they had done. But Nala wasn't interested in revenge. She had moved on from the pain they caused her, and she didn't want to see anyone else suffer. So Nala went online and posted a video, asking people to stop attacking Zuri and Jamil. "I know they hurt me, but no one deserves to be harassed or bullied," she said in the video. "I've learned that holding on to anger only hurts you in the end. I've let go of the past, and I encourage everyone else to do the same." But despite Nala's words, the damage had already been done. After Jamil's life fell apart, he eventually tried to come back to Nala, apologizing for everything he had done. He told her he regretted leaving and asked for a second chance, hoping to rebuild their relationship. She refused his request, telling him that she had moved on and was focused on her own life and her children. Nala had learned to value herself and knew she deserved better. With her newfound fame and success, Nala was able to do things she had only dreamed of. She wrote a book about her life, sharing her story in even more detail. The book became a bestseller, and Nala earned enough money to secure her children's future. She also opened a restaurant, fulfilling her lifelong dream of working with food. The restaurant became a huge success, and people loved visiting a place owned by someone as inspiring as Nala. But most importantly, Nala created an NGO to help single women struggling in life, providing financial support and advice to those in need. She couldn't do it for her mum, so she did it for hundreds of women. In interviews, people would sometimes ask Nala if she ever thought about getting remarried or finding love again. Her response was always the same: I'm not seeking love because I've realized that I don't need to be someone's wife to have value. Nala would say, if love finds me, I'll embrace it. But right now, my children are my priority. Nala's life wasn't perfect, but it was hers. She had built a new life for herself and her children, one filled with hope, love, and success. This world is full of women like Nala. Women who face so much pain and struggle, but don't see how precious they truly are. You may never become famous, but if you feel like Nala, know that you can take control of your life. Amazing things are waiting for you. Don't give up. Until next time, see you and keep the stories alive.